For decades, one state has been unmatched in the global tech economy: California. Home to the fourth largest economy in the world and where billion-dollar companies are born in garages. But lately, something's been shifting. Big names are leaving, billions in wealth are moving, and Sacramento just proposed a tax that has some of the richest people in the world threatening to pack their bags. So, is this the beginning of the end for California's reign, or is Exodus overblown? This is the California Tech Exodus. Let's take a look at the facts. California, by any measure, is an economic powerhouse. It accounts for roughly 14% of U.S. GDP and ranks as the fourth largest economy in the world, bigger than Australia, Mexico, and Greece combined. But California's tech ecosystem didn't happen by accident. It grew up around Stanford University, Cold War defense research, early venture capital, and the first semiconductor firms. By the late 20th century, it was the undisputed center of global tech. But here's where it gets complicated. Even as the economy boomed, people were leaving. Between 2012 and 2022, more than 360,000 Californians relocated to Texas alone, taking an estimated $21 billion in taxable income with them. Fast forward to today, and the picture gets sharper. National tech employment is down roughly 90,000 jobs from its 2023 peak. San Francisco employment remains the steepest below pre-COVID levels of any major U.S. city. California's share of national tech employment has slipped from nearly 19% to around 16%. And it's not just workers. Tesla moved to Texas. Palantir shifted to Miami. In late 2025, Google co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin moved dozens of their business entities out of California entirely. And then, in 2025, lawmakers proposed two major wealth taxes: an annual levy on assets above $50 million, and a one-time 5% tax on residents worth over $1 billion, retroactive to January 1st, 2026.
2026 Billionaire Tax Act would impose a one-time wealth tax, including on money tied up in stocks or private companies. Supporters say it could raise up to $100 billion for healthcare, food assistance, and education.
Sacramento's goal is to offset federal healthcare funding cuts and close a projected state budget gap. The response from the tech world was swift. Crafters of the legislation argue Silicon Valley is overreacting, noting it is merely a proposal, allowing deferrals and alternative valuations to avoid taxing illiquid assets immediately. As of 2026, the state faces a projected budget deficit of roughly $18 to $20 billion after several surplus years. Housing costs remain among the highest in the nation. Poverty and homelessness remain challenges, and yet it still captures close to 1/3 of all U.S. information sector wages. And the companies defining the next era of technology, AI, semiconductors, and biotech are still largely rooted in the Golden State. The strengths are real, and so are the challenges. What they mean, and what should be done, depends entirely on who you ask. The Republican narrative states that California has become a failed state, the new Detroit of tech. Under Democratic rule, unchecked crime, anti-business policies, and fiscal mismanagement have driven away wealth creators. Homelessness and high costs are worse. The proposed billionaire tax, in this view, is outright class warfare, punishing success to fund wasteful programs. And the leverage California once had? Gone. Technology can operate anywhere now, making California unnecessary. The Democratic narrative states that the so-called tech exodus is mainly hype, pushed by billionaire interests to block a modest one-time levy aimed at stabilizing California's budget and backfilling federal healthcare cuts. Decades of research show the ultra-wealthy rarely relocate over taxes. The companies driving innovation, from AI to semiconductors, remain anchored in Silicon Valley's talent, universities, and capital networks. A targeted tax with deferrals, supporters argue, would not force startups to sell. In this view, the real threat to competitiveness isn't taxation, it's starving the public services that tech depends on. A third perspective goes further. This view holds that the tech exodus represents greed and ingratitude. California built the fortunes of Musk, Page, Brin, Zuckerberg, and Ellison through public research, educated engineers, and world-class infrastructure. Now, facing a modest 5% wealth tax to protect Medi-Cal and fund health care for millions, proponents of this view argue those same billionaires are threatening to leave. In this view, Silicon Valley has exploited the state's foundations, built extraordinary wealth, and is now heading for the exits. True leadership, in this telling, would mean reinvesting in the system that made them rich, not abandoning it. The establishment critical narrative states that this story isn't really about billionaires like Musk and Page. It's about the small startups that power Silicon Valley's entire innovation ecosystem. Illiquid founders may be forced to sell, valuations could collapse, and the next generation of great companies might never be born in California. The real threat, in this view, is political mismanagement, runaway budgets, wasted funds, and leaders treating innovation as a cash cow. Without proactive tech voices in government, California risks collapsing its startup network and ceding global AI leadership. Let us know in the comments, and visit Verity.news for more of the biggest stories.